Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. So today I'm going to give you my full review of the Sinister Secrets of Saltmarsh, which is DDO's first mini expansion. In this video, we'll start off, I'll give you just a brief overview of the pack. We're going to go through each quest one by one, and then I'll give you my full criticisms and also the things that I like about the pack a lot. There will be timestamps in the description below if you want to skip around. I'll say, first of all, I purposely avoided reading or listening to all reviews on this pack because I wanted to give an objective as possible video review for this pack. Also, full disclosure, I was gifted an Ultimate Fan Bundle version of the expansion by Standing Stone Games, so thank you to them for supporting my channel. I will say though, don't worry, it's not going to in any way affect the objectiveness of my review. I promise you that. Okay, and lastly, before we get started, this review will be spoiler light, so I will show bits and pieces of the quests, and I'll talk a little bit about the storyline, but I won't give away the major plot points, and I'm not going to show the vast majority of the quests, but keep that in mind if you are looking to avoid spoilers. Next, this pack is labeled and marketed as a mini expansion, so you have to buy it for real money in the DDO market, not the DDO store. You can't buy it as of right now in the DDO store for DDO points. You will be able to buy it in the DDO store eventually, but it is delayed the normal 6 months, so you won't be able to buy it for points until February 2022. There are 3 different price tiers for the expansion. There's a $100, a $60, and $20 bundles available. I did a whole different video talking about all that, all the details of those bundles. If you want to check that video out, I'll link it below in the description. Okay, let's start with some basics about the pack that I really need to explain before I can get into the review. So the pack consists of 10 quests and 1 wilderness area. The pack has craftable loot. So all the loot in this pack is crafted. You actually even have heroic versions of items dropping in the legendary quests, and you need to upgrade them twice. Once to epic, and second upgrade will be to legendary. The grind is not that bad at all. So from what I'm seeing from my experiences, it's going to take you about 1 run of the saga of all 10 quests to fully craft 1 item. So not too bad. Because there are a lot of ingredients that you'll need to upgrade these, so there's actually 2 different types of ingredients. So you'll need to collect a lot of these ingredients, which means there are actually tons of chests in this pack. There's a lot of chests. There's a lot of secret doors. Rogues are really going to shine here because there's a lot of chests to unlock, a lot of stuff to find. There's quite a few traps as well to disable, so rogues do really well here. In addition to the Saltmarsh items, this pack also contains ingredients you'll need to fully upgrade your Scroll Seal Shard items to Legendary, which was part of the Update 50. And those ingredients actually are exclusive to Saltmarsh right now, but it sounds like they won't be in the future. The wilderness area is fairly large. I would say it's about the same size as the Keep on the Borderlands adventure area. We'll get more into the wilderness area later. I'll do a whole nother section on that. The quests themselves, in terms of difficulty, to me, they felt easier than Feywild and Sharn. Of course, I don't know how much of that is the difficulty of the pack and how much of that is the dramatic changes that were made in Update 50 with the in-game loot crunch and all that, but the quests themselves are all relatively simple. None are very complex at all, although I would say 2 of the 10 are quite long. They're on the longer side, but in terms of just figuring out how to get through the quests, I had 0 problems. They're all very simple. Part of this is probably because they are very low level heroic. This is a level 3 heroic, level 32 legendary adventure pack. So with the very low level quests, it's probably why they kept them on the simpler side, but very simple quests, very, very puggable. Let's get into the quests now. I'll start with the 4 mainline story quests, and then we'll get into the 6 side quests. So the first mainline story quest is called The Haunting of Saltmarsh. So in this quest, there's a house on a hill that is said to be full of ghosts that are acting up. It's haunted. There's lights flashing out of it. You need to go up to the haunted house and kind of figure out what's going on, and you need to investigate. So this quest gives me Death House vibes. If you're familiar with the Death House quest from Ravenloft, it's kind of runs in that same vein in the sense that you're investigating this haunted house, trying to see what's going on. In this quest, you need to find several keys and unlock various doors to advance. The main mechanics of this quest is finding these keys. That's the main challenge, and they can be tricky to find first time through, but after that you'll be fine. They don't change location as far as I'm aware. But other than that, there's really not much else to say about the quest. The mobs are mainly ghosts, spiders, skeletons. It's a medium-sized quest. Let's move on now to quest number 2. Quest number 2 is called Under the Cover of Darkness. So in this quest, you need to take on a ship full of smugglers. This quest is very reminiscent of the Blockade Buster quest from the Attack on Stormreach chain. I believe actually they started with that quest. It uses a very similar, if not the same map, except there's only one ship instead of multiple ships. But this is a crest finding quest. You need to find the crest hidden in the various areas of the ship, and they open the ending room, which reveals what has been smuggled. So the enemies are mostly humanoids, not a whole lot else to say. Quest number 3 is called Danger at Dunwater. In this quest, you need to confront a tribe of lizard folk to try and make peace between them and Saltmarsh. The first thing to say about this quest is it's very long. It's the longest quest in the adventure pack for sure. It's a huge map, yet at the same time, it's very closed in. It's not open. You're running through caves, so it is very closed in. It gave me vibes of the more cavernous quests you find in, say, like Keep on the Borderlands. I think this is actually, if I had to pick one quest, I think this is probably the best one in Saltmarsh. There are lots and lots of lizard folk in here to kill. The quest involves a lot of trying to find out where to go, talking to various NPCs that lead you along through the story. You need to do some crest collecting, and there's also some interesting optionals here. There's one in particular involving the /say command, which is kind of neat. There's also a slightly different take on a tile puzzle in that same optional. The quest is quite engaging. It's quite long, as I said before, and I will say it can get repetitive, especially with the monsters, but it's a good mix of hack and slash. The story is quite good. It was very engaging for me. So yeah, I really like this one. I think it's the best quest in the pack. The fourth quest is called The Final Enemy, and this is the last of the main storyline quests. In this quest, you need to assault a Sahuagin fortress. So this quest is also large. I would say it's the second largest for sure in Saltmarsh, right behind the quest we just talked about, Danger at Dunwater. But it's on a map with multiple layers, yet at the same time, it's not confusing to get around. It's a very straightforward quest. It's very hack and slash. There's a ton of enemies here, almost all Sahuagin. You can avoid fighting a lot of them, though, if you want to just go for a straight, fast completion. Or if you want, you can kill more of them if you want to go for a Slayer optional. But there's not too much else to say about this quest, but the storyline is resolved here, although more detail is given in some of the side quests that we'll talk about now. The first side quest we'll talk about is called Swim at Your Own Risk. In this quest, you need to take out a kind of a holy crocodile. It's a crocodile that is worshipped by the local lizard folk. It's a very short quest, the shortest in Saltmarsh. It's a one-room quest. It's, I would say, maybe 3-4 minutes. It's a very, very, very short one. The quest basically involves 4 tile puzzles and then an infight. This is definitely my least favorite quest in Saltmarsh. The artwork is nice on, say, like the large crocodile enemy that you face here, but for some reason they put in 4 repetitive tile puzzles, and there's just not a lot of creativity here. There's not really much to this quest. It's kind of low effort, honestly, from the developers here. My least favorite for sure. The second side quest that we'll talk about is called the Hijacked Haul. In this quest, you need to find some cargo in a shipwreck for a sailor whose ship was stolen. So it's a medium-length quest, mostly located in caves. The enemies are mostly lizard folk. Not a whole lot else to say about this quest. Like, this is similar to a lot of the other quests here. There's not a lot to say because they're very straightforward quests. This one is as well. It's mostly a hack and slash quest. The next side quest we'll talk about is called Down You Go. In this quest, you find a hole in the ground near a bullywug statue and decide to climb down. Obviously, this quest is located in an underground cavern. It's a short to medium length quest. There's some wheel puzzles here. The only time wheel puzzles appear in Saltmarsh. We've seen these wheel puzzles plenty of times in game. You need to find various symbols that are hidden on the walls that tell you how to align the wheels. Lots of bullywugs here. This is kind of the main feature quest for the bullywugs, which is one of the new enemies in this pack. They are kind of frog-like humanoids, which are really well animated, I would have to say here. Their hopping animations, super cute. They look great. The art team did a really good job here with them. This quest also features a Mario section where you need to jump up on various columns. However, it's pretty easy platforming here. If you just take your camera and put it above your character, you shouldn't have too many problems jumping up the columns. And if you do, it's very forgiving. There are ladders both in the very middle of the puzzle and at the end. So say you get 2/3 of the way through and then you fall, no big deal. You can use the midway ladder and get yourself starting at the halfway point. There's also, as I mentioned, an in ladder, so only one party member actually has to do this. once one person completes this jumping portion, you can activate a lever that puts a ladder down so everyone can climb up. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Also, in a recent patch, they introduced an alternate route to get around doing any platforming at all. There are some traps on the platforming path that can be disabled by solving the aforementioned wheel puzzles. The next side quest is called Back to Basics. So in this quest, you need to investigate the sounds coming from the basement of a tower. It is said to sound like a horse. So this is a medium-sized quest. If you play pen and paper D&D, you will like the layout of the map screen here. I won't spoil that, but you'll see what that is when you get into it. In my experience, this quest is definitely the most challenging in Saltmarsh just in terms of the difficulty of the monsters, particularly the infight, which is considerably more challenging than any of the other infights in Saltmarsh. The boss here has a knockdown mechanic. There's also a circle mechanic, one of the circle mechanics where you don't want to be inside it, or do you take a lot of damage. So maybe drop down a skull, maybe drop down one difficulty setting, maybe if you want when you first run this, but it is a little bit more challenging. Just keep that in mind than the other quests. The fifth side quest that we'll talk about is called What Sleeps Below. In this quest, there are a group of sailors that have abducted 2 people, and you need to go find them. The quest is located in a townhouse and caves. Lots and lots of levers here to pull. Most of the enemies are humanoids. Not really much else to say here. Another pretty straightforward hack and slash style quest. The sixth side quest that we'll talk about in the last quest that there is to talk about is called Rest for the Night. So in this quest, you are wandering around the wilderness area and you find a campsite. You decide to go to sleep, and when you wake up, you find calls for help. It's a very hack and slash quest. I would say this is probably the simplest quest in Saltmarsh in terms of figuring out where to go and what to do. You basically just move from a location to location, which is marked on the map, and you face spawning waves of mostly Sahuagin mobs that kind of spawn all around you. It's located in a very wide open, misty map that's at night, takes place at night. Nothing else really to say about this one. Again, very simple quest. Next, let's talk about the wilderness area. The wilderness area here is okay. It's fairly large. It's about, as I mentioned before, the size of the Keep on the Borderlands wilderness area. It's extremely flat and open. The quests are very, very easy to get to. They're all straight shots. They're short. There's no using terrain or walls to get around, nothing like that. You can just go right to all of them. The adventure area consists of walk-up explorers, so there's no like little scrolls to click on, say like the Demon Web Explorer area. They're all walk-up explorers, so as soon as you walk up to them, you'll be instantly granted the experience points from the explorer. And the explorers are easy to find. I actually found all of them myself pretty easily without using any resources or maps or anything like that, because oftentimes you'll be walking through the swamp area and you'll just stumble across, you'll see a building that looks different, that will stick out. You'll see just a random tower and you'll be like, oh, that has to be Explorer, because it is. You know, the explorers just do stick out really well here. In terms of graphics, this is just okay. Considering though that it's a swampy area, there's not really much to expect from it visually. It's not, say, something like the Feywild, where you would expect this bright, vibrant, you know, awesome kind of atmosphere to look at, cool things to look at. And here it's supposed to be this dreary, swampy marshland that's not particularly hospitable or fun to look at. That's kind of the intention here. There are some stuff to interact here when it comes to the rares. So the rares are, for the most part, I believe, I haven't found every single one of them yet, but the vast majority of the rares are just standard mini bosses. But there are some differences here, like there is a Dryad and the Demigod style puzzle that's here in the wilderness area, but really not much else besides that. So you don't have anything like, say, let's say like Evening Star Forest style rare encounters where there's a lot of activities, or say rare encounters like Necro 4, the Orchard, where there are these various activities or puzzles or things to do. It's mostly just Slayers, with the exception being the Dryad and the Demigod style puzzle. One cool thing though about the wilderness area is the chests do drop ingredients, and they even drop some loot as well. So there is good reason to kind of run around and get your rares. A lot of them are quite easy to get to, so it's a really good way to farm ingredients, I would say. Let's now get into the things I like and the things I don't like about this pack, and we'll start with the things I don't like. So I have two main criticisms about this pack. Criticism number one is the price, particularly the two higher bundles, the $60 and the $100 bundles. I don't think it's worth it. I think that they're too expensive. I think that the only real appealing thing in either of the 60 or $100 bundles from a practical standpoint is the level 30 Bullywug Rogue Hireling. And even then, for $80, which is the difference between the $100 pack and the $20 pack, you can buy a heck of a lot of Gold Seal Rogue Hirelings if you want. Granted, those cap out at level 24, whereas this Bullywug Rogue is level 30 and does a really good job unlocking stuff, disabling traps. So if that's worth it to you, maybe it's worth $80 to you. But that's really the only appealing thing I can think of. The rest of the components of the $100 and $60 bundle really doesn't bring a lot of value. So let's talk about it. So the Horizon Walker tree, which you get included if you buy one of the higher bundles, it's unlockable with favor. So you really don't need to buy it. Also, I'm not seeing a lot of hype for that enhancement tree. I tried it out a little bit on Lamania. I wasn't that impressed. So I'm not really seeing a lot of people that really want that enhancement tree. Maybe you're an exception, but keep in mind, even if you are, you can unlock it with favor. Granted, you'll need to actually own other content or be VIP to get the favor, gatekeeper favor, but you can unlock it with favor. Okay, number 2 are cosmetics. Well, they're cosmetics. A lot of players aren't going to care about that. Some players will. Maybe it's worth it to you, but a lot of players aren't going to care about it. Next is the mounts. So mounts come with both of the $60 and $100 versions of this mini expansion, but a lot of players will have gotten a fast mount through the Feywild if you bought one of the higher bundles, or you can also get a mount through the Keep on the Borderlands adventure pack by grinding one out there, or you can get one in the DDO store, or there's even some given away on hardcore if you've managed to really do well there. So there's a lot of other ways to get mounts, so that's not really very appealing. The teleport item. This is actually probably the least useful, I would say the least useful teleport item that's been given out in an expansion or a mini expansion, just because you can get to Saltmarsh through the Gatekeeper's Grove, which is a teleport location. So if you can UMD scroll teleport, or if you can cast teleport, you can go right to Gatekeeper's Grove. Saltmarsh is right there. Really not, you save maybe one load screen basically if you opt to go through the fast travel. It's really not that big of a deal. Okay, next, the Sparks of Logic. You can actually get those as a saga reward. So every time, and I think I've gone through the saga 3 times as of the time of this recording, every single time the Spark of Logic has appeared on my saga and reward list. I've read that it's only a chance, so apparently I've gotten lucky, but it's not too hard to grind. You can get a Spark of Logic pretty easily if you just grind out that saga a few times. You'll probably get one. Granted, you'll have to do that for each character, whereas if you buy the bundle, you'll get a lot of basically unlimited, but it's still something you can grind out relatively easily. Next is a Dimensional Hireling folder. Not really that appealing. I mean, how many hirelings do people really carry around? Maybe if you're a solo person or you love hirelings, then maybe you'll really like it. But granted, it's really only going to save me a couple inventory slots. Hirelings aren't really that good in this game unless you need one as a healer or something. I will say though, if you don't want to wait and buy it for points, then the $20 option for the expansion is not unreasonable. It's still a lot for basically what is an adventure pack, but for $20, I think this adventure pack being pretty good is worth it. It's definitely an above average adventure pack. So if you don't want to wait until it goes to the store for points in February, then I would say go for the $20 bundle. So let's talk now about the concept of a mini expansion before we get into my second criticism here. So the design philosophy of this mini expansion was kind of hit a gray area between an expansion and an adventure pack. And, they did that. I will have to say. I'm not a fan of the mini expansion concept. I wish they would either go all in and make a full expansion or just make an adventure pack and not do this in-between stuff. But for what they did, I do think they met their goal of kind of making this feel like a little bit too much for an adventure pack. I mean, even by old adventure pack standards, so back in the early days of DDO, things like wilderness areas that used to be standard that now are considered premium features that only appear in expansions for the most part, with the exception of Keep on the Borderlands. Even considering like going by old standards for adventure pack quantity, it's still a big adventure pack. 10 quests, a well-done wilderness area. It's quite a premium adventure pack. So for $20, do I think this should have been a mini expansion? No. I think it probably should have been a normal adventure pack in the store. But for $20, it's in that gray realm of, this probably should have been an adventure pack, but it's only $20 and you're really not missing out much on these by not getting the $60 or $100 bundles. So are they moving the goalposts with this mini expansion concept? Yes, obviously they are. They're kind of getting you to pay for more outside of the game because they don't want you to spend points. More profitable for them, obviously, to have you spend real money in the DDO market. So is that a little ridiculous? Yeah, it's a little ridiculous, but at the same time, it's only $20 and you're not missing out much. So it's kind of an annoyance, marketing annoyance that I'm willing to deal with. But again, I'll have to say I didn't buy this because SSG was nice enough to grant me a review copy. But if I were to buy it, I would have just bought the $20 version. Let's now get into my second criticism, which really is the most important criticism, my main criticism of Saltmarsh. And that is it's too safe. It's good content. It's an above average adventure pack for sure. Story's really good. It's immersive. The quest pack looks good. Some of the enemies, the new enemies like bullywugs, look good. Crocodiles looks really good. However, they don't play any different. And worse, there's no special new mechanics introduced. There's no new puzzle. There's nothing we haven't seen before. All right. And some mechanics are recycled so much. The worst offender here is tile puzzles. SSG, you gotta stop with putting tile puzzles everywhere in your content, okay? What that does is it makes it all feel similar. The first 5 quests I ran in this pack, I was kind of blown away by this. The first 5 quests, 4 of them had tile puzzles. And one of the first 5 had 4 in one room. Guys, you gotta stop with the tile puzzles. I don't want to see a tile puzzle in a new quest for at least 2 years. We've seen them since Quarthos. They are all over this pack. You got to start actually inventing and innovating. Invent new puzzles. Don't just copy paste old puzzles a million times into these packs. It makes all the content feel too similar to older content. So please stop that. Also, other mechanics like crests were used quite a lot. Not as much as tile puzzles, but crests were used quite a lot. Those mechanics, I wish they would use less. They repeat them too much. But the main thing is we need to see more newer types of puzzles, new mechanics. This does mean sometimes they won't work. It's risk. But I want to see them actually try stuff. Yeah, I don't think, for example, the Sewer Sleds in Sharn, I don't think that it was really received all that well by the community, say the quest Just Business. However, I really admire them for trying something new, and at least it makes that quest in that series feel different because it's a new, different mechanic. So I want to see more of that. I want to see new stuff and not as much recycling of old stuff. Is this content good? Yes. Is it fun? Yes. But it's just kind of standard, safe, bread and butter DDO content that wasn't particularly innovative. It didn't particularly try anything new. So I think that's the main criticism I have here. So now that I got that rant out of me, let's move on to the things I really like about Saltmarsh. So first of all, some of the new monsters I mentioned before, so bullywugs and crocodiles, they didn't really bring anything new to the table, but the art team continues to do very, very well in DDO. I praise them in Feywild, and I praise them here for these monsters. Bullywugs, super cute. They've got a super cute hopping animation. Looks great. The crocodiles look great. Just really good job by the art team. Even like the cosmetics look good. The new horses included in the bundles look really good. No complaints about the artwork there. The quests themselves, yes, they may be bread and butter, but they're very, very well done. This formula of quest is something obviously that SSG has mastered over the years and years of creating content, and they're really fun. I had a really good time. I think I enjoyed the quests more than Feywild's, actually. I'm not going to say it's better than Feywild's, but I am going to say that when it came to just pugging it, just running it, I think I enjoyed them more. It's a great pack that you can kind of run casually. It's definitely an excellent pack to pug just because they're not too complicated. The pack itself, is it immersive? Yes, it's actually very immersive. The setting, even as someone who's never played the pen and paper classic modules, module does feel nostalgic, and I think some of that nostalgia that I think everyone who plays this pack kind of feels is not, even if you haven't played Saltmarsh pen and paper, I think you get nostalgia from all the Sahuagin. I mean, it definitely brings back nostalgia of Quarthos. Now, is this better than Keep on the Borderlands? I think Keep on the Borderlands Obviously, when you look at it from a design standpoint, from a scaling standpoint, in terms of like, 10-ish quests in a wilderness area, is it better than Keep on the Borderlands? Yes, it is. The quests are better. I really like the narrative in some of these quests, like Danger at Dunwater, for example. Great quest. Really enjoyed working my way through that one. The crafting system for all the loot, it's well done. They didn't go above and beyond and make it super grindy like something like Slavers when that first came out. The grind is very reasonable. Like I said, it's about one playthrough of the saga to craft one piece of loot all the way to legendary. So that's quite good. Also, the story. It's really, really good. It's very well written. This is actually my favorite story since Ravenloft. It's written better, I think, than Feywild. Like Feywild, when I went through that, I was just confused a lot of the time. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe it's because Feywild was written to be eclectic because the lore is these creatures kind of speak in riddles, or maybe Saltmarsh's was just written better. But I found myself a lot more engaged in the Saltmarsh story than the Feywild story, as well as the Sharn story. No, I like the Saltmarsh story more. It was engaging. It's pretty easy to understand. I actually wanted to read all the chat bubbles because I wanted to know what was going on. There's a lot of interesting lore here, not just in Saltmarsh, but in DDO that you can even uncover in some of the encounters. All of the side quests, while not being required to the storyline, definitely fill in holes and add to it. So the story's quite good. Like I really, really like the story. Like this is not one of those quests where, if you give the story a chance, it's not one of these where you'll be dreading reading the chat bubbles. Like I actually really enjoyed reading the chat bubbles, and if you take the time to do that, you'll be able to appreciate other elements of the quest more than if you just ignored the quest bubbles and just kind of zerg through it. So I do encourage you to actually read through the story, understand what's going on. So there you go. Those are my full thoughts on the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. So overall, in summary, do I recommend you buy it? I can't recommend the $100 to $60 bundles. I don't think they bring enough value, and I think they're overpriced. However, for 20 bucks, you get the 10 quests, the wilderness area, you get a monster manual, you get access to Epic Destinies, even though I think that should be free, the Epic Destiny part. But for $20, the price of a couple of pizzas, even though I'm not a fan of the mini expansion concept, I think it's not unreasonable for them to charge $20. They need to make money as a company. So even if they are moving the goalposts here with the mini expansion concept for 20 bucks, okay. I think it's worth it. So guys, that's going to be it for the review. Please comment below and let me know what you think. Like I said before, I haven't looked at any other reviews. I haven't read, I've done my best to avoid reading anyone else's opinions of this pack. So please comment below. Let me read your comments. Would be very interested. As always, hope you all enjoyed this review. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Take care.